once people see that you're trying to find ways to help and support, you start to get those signals and understanding. It's not just about the fear; it's what's causing the fear. How do we remove that barrier? And that can be different individual to individual.
Hello and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. I hope you're doing wonderfully well. It's great to be back with you as your host. Now on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming Mr. Neil Tunnah to the show. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Thanks, Rick. It's great to be here. Looking forward to this discussion.
Oh, look, absolutely. Now, you are the CEO of the Performance Chain Group, and you and I will be talking about the human side of AI adoption and why culture can often beat code, but also we'll explore how leaders can position AI as a teammate while building the psychological safety needed to embrace the rapidly changing AI landscape. Now, that was a mouthful.
It certainly was. It certainly was. I think that's it's quite typical though of AI, and I guess the impact AI and some of the challenges around it, but also some of the, there's a lot of good things there as well. I'm looking forward to unpacking some of that with you today.
Absolutely. So where are you calling in from today, Neil?
I'm in Adelaide Hills, home base here. Not again, home base here, Rick. I don't spend anywhere near as much time as I probably should here, given I say we're fighting on three fronts. We've got a presence in the UK, the US, and Australia. So
yes,
it's good to be home actually just now.
Well, it's fantastic to have you in South Australia. I'll tell you that much for sure and certain. Now, I already know the locations and landmarks, but where out of the whole world would you prefer to be?
Do you know what I've found? I guess I found a bit of solace in where we are, Rick, because we're about an hour outside of Adelaide. We have an office in Adelaide, and like I said, I spend a lot of time on planes traveling.
Yep.
So when I come back to Adelaide, it's like a big country town, although it has grown and expanded rapidly in recent years,
yes.
business-wise.
Yep.
But I really enjoy the drive out, and we live in a small town called Strathalbyn on the Fleurieu Peninsula, and there's just something that is calming and relaxing about jumping in the car and driving out here before I get home, Rick.
Well, I tell you what, I spend a lot of my time in McLaren Vale, probably rightly or wrongly, but when
red wine.
Oh yes, sir. So when you get out and about, do you enjoy a social life? Do you like a meal? What do you do with yourself when you're not working?
Yeah, very much so, Rick. We are. I would say we are an overly exceptionally social family. We've got so much on our doorstep here in terms of the Barossa, McLaren Vale. You touched on it. Adelaide's a wonderful city for families, so there's always something going on, and we've got. I wouldn't say we've got a big group of friends, but we've got a really tight, close group of friends now that, we've got kids that are all similar ages. And so we find ourselves getting together with the same groups quite consistently and having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, I know you've got a significant sports background, but do you still enjoy the sports scene?
I do, very much so. I'm actually, I get on a plane in about 24 hours. I'm flying to Chicago for 5 days to watch the All Blacks play Ireland in rugby at Soldier Field in Chicago.
Yes,
with a wonderful group of human beings, a networking group that I'm part of that supports the Montana Institute of Sport. So we're all meeting in Chicago on Thursday, and we'll have some fun.
I bet you it's going to be fun. I'm a little bit jelly, I've got to tell you. Now, let's wind back time a bit and tell us a little bit about where you grew up. What was your childhood like?
Yeah, I had a wonderful childhood, Rick. I was exceptionally fortunate. I grew up in a small town in the Scottish borders, and listen, the whole place was just completely underpinned by community. I was born with a rugby ball in my hand, which helped. It was everyone lived for the weekend, and a Saturday came around, and I would reckon 2/3 of the town would always be out at the rugby on a Saturday as I was growing up. So a wonderful group of friends still back there that I don't speak to too often, but when we do speak, it was like I saw them yesterday, and that's I would say that's the power of that community, the connection, and the sense of belonging that was developed through my childhood. It felt like I was in the right place at the right time when I was growing up.
Yeah, I take a lot away from this part of the call because we get to learn a little bit about you. I mean, business is business fundamentally. It doesn't change all that much, but certainly the leaders do. But going up through the ranks, you've certainly achieved a lot. Did you have any inspirational people along the way that I guess influenced you to become the person you are today?
Yeah. There's 2 or 3 people in the early days, and at the time I didn't even know, to be quite honest with you. But I grew up in Jedburgh, and my rugby hero, if you like, was a guy called Roy Laidlaw, and I ended up being really, really good mates with all 3 of his sons. And that was I was going for dinner at Roy Laidlaw's house, and that was as a 10 and 11-year-old sitting down having lasagna in the dining room with
Oh,
Roy Laidlaw
wow.
and his family was, it was almost, well, it was very surreal at the time. This guy who's on TV and he's everything I wanted to be rugby wise, and I'm sitting having dinner with his family around the dinner table and then my mates, and it was pretty cool, that part. So Roy was a big influence. And again, like when I look at the influences in the early years, they all came from sport, Rick.
Yep.
And it was all coaches, to be quite honest. So there was a guy called Alan Goodfellow, and Alan passed away a couple of years ago, but he was a profound influence on me growing up. He was a man. He operated with huge amount of integrity. He was always honest, and I really appreciated that as a youngster. Although at times it was, it could be quite confronting, but you actually you appreciate the level of honesty that came. So in terms of influence and shaping me and where I am now, when I look back, all those relationships and those interactions, they certainly shape and influence where I am now, probably foundationally as well.
Yeah.
You've got lots of experiences that happen through life, and you kind of fall back on a spot where I think those ages between 5 and 15 are so critical, but when you've got good influences in that space through those ages, I think you certainly see some of the great things that you learn from them.
There's
and then
sorry to cut you off there. There's certainly some strengths that you would have. I think about people like yourself, Neil, and I think about discipline. What's a day look like for you, and are you disciplined? Sometimes you want to pull the covers over your head. Tell us a little bit about that.
Rick, it's a really great question, that, because when you're in sport, your day it's so structured, and it's structured for you. And I came through that sort of pathway in coaching in Sydney, and then into the professional game, and you walk in and every day's planned for you. You know where you have to be, when you have to be there, what you need to have prepared, and then you move into business and you have to structure it yourself, and it becomes much more of in the early days, a much more of an ebb and flow. And look, I would say it's interesting, right, because we've been in business for 4 years, and I was in sport for sort of 12 years roughly before that. Construction management before that, interestingly, which was highly structured as well.
Yep.
And then when I started the business, it was hard putting the structure together. Not only hard, but I was working on my own a lot of the time.
Yep.
So there was isolation and there was loneliness. There was all of those things, craving being back around the team. And that probably, I would say, in the last couple of years, I kind of went searching for that rugby hit again. Got it a little bit, but then came out of it again last year and really sat down, and I've become quite religious around my structure of my day for that reason. But I had to create it myself. So I went through a lot of trial and error, working out what worked and what didn't work. And I would say only in the last, with the support of some brilliant coaches around me, only in the last 6 months have I really nutted that down. And look, it's really paying dividends now in terms of my productivity.
Excellent.
Movement towards goals, ability to press pause and look at what we're doing with the business and how we're doing it as well.
Yep.
It's created that space and that structure for me to be way more strategic.
Fantastic. Now, I used to be with master builders and in the construction and building game, both residential and commercial, for many years now. I think about teamwork and the importance of that, and I wonder how that's now carried over because of your love of teamwork and the need for it. How does that transfer into business, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. And I would say that's if there's something at the time when I was transitioning out of construction and into rugby, there was a few things that I was looking at and going, I wonder what the transfer is here. How can this help me? What's the benefit? And again, learning and looking back on that, is absolutely the team stuff. And as well as I do, the speed that construction moves at and has to move at.
Yep.
And then you've got all these different people from different backgrounds. You've got employees, you've got subcontractors, you've got clients, you've got designers, you've got contract administrators. You're all trying to pull these, or everyone's trying to get together and continually move in the same direction while, there's always conflict. There's always challenge. There's always, I would say sometimes there's brutal honesty that maybe doesn't need to be as brutal as it is delivered, but it's there anyway. So you've got to learn to navigate it.
Yeah.
And I think that set me up for success in sport. It set me up to be able to recognize situations with people. Fundamentally, the most important thing is how do you build trust with someone quickly? And that's something that certainly underpins all of my interaction when I'm looking new relationships, existing relationships that, whether that's personal and friendships or it's in the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really the first place to go. And a lot of what I learned in construction, Rick, was through failure as well. That's the other thing.
Yep.
I made a lot of mistakes when it came to people. Was fortunate enough that rugby gave me the opportunity to sit and reflect on those and look at what I could bring into rugby.
Yep.
And hopefully, I certainly feel like it's serving me well now, set me up for success.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate the feedback, Neil. Thank you so very much. Now let's shift gears a little bit. How did you get involved with the performance chain? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so it was the concept or the idea of the performance chain was it was hatched over a glass of red wine in the Channel Islands in about 2018 when I was seeing some things from a team perspective and leadership perspective that, there were some things that were really good and there were some things that I was seeing, some behaviors that maybe weren't so great that were influencing people in a big way. And that I became way more curious about how do you show up as a leader and what impact does that have on the people around you? And then also, how do you show up as a leader and allow them the space and freedom to build the relationships and support that, and then get them on the same page, move in the same direction. So sport taught me a lot of that. I saw some opportunity to probably take some stuff from sport into business that would help business move a little bit faster than it does for the businesses that are open to exploring that. And that's really the foundation of what we've done, is taking some of the leadership principles and team building principles into business and teaching them, if you have consistent feedback conversations, as an example, then that can enable quicker problem solving, strategic direction, how you communicate with a client, whether you're performing at a level that's expected, whether it's above expectation or below. Feedback enables all of that, but equally it enables the opportunity to build deeper levels of trust with the people around you as well. So
absolutely,
all of that was born out of a life in construction where lots of failure, then into sport, a lot of failure and learning, bit of success, and then it's serving us really well in business now for the people that are open to it.
Absolutely.
It's not everyone in business that is open to it, but we found, certainly through our relationships and networks, we found some key businesses that are very, very open to exploring it and serving us well.
I find it fascinating how previous experiences do actually transition and help us in the business space. So I really appreciate the feedback. Now, we live in very interesting times, Neil, with the the omnipresence of AI. Let's talk about AI. Tell us the first time you ever encountered AI and what was it like for you?
AI was probably, I would say it was a ChatGPT. That was the first thing that I came across, and it became a curiosity and exploration. Then it wasn't really so much about how can it help me in the work that we're doing. It was more about how do I understand this? What's its capability? What's its capability now, and how might it enable capability in the future? And once you go down that rabbit hole, and I'm quite obsessive with it, Rick. To be quite honest with you, it's the world's going to move at breakneck speed. And when I look at everything that I've learned in construction and sport, it's taught us to move at speed. So I started to look for, where's the alignment in what AI can do and what's the impact going to be on people? And how can we then take some of those, again, back to those principles from sport, where we get people on the same page really quickly and move in the same direction, and then keep them on that journey, if you like. I started to see lots of similarities between what is happening or isn't happening with teams in business related to AI, and some of the fear, and how do we remove that fear and, give people confidence that this can be a tool that can help them rather than something that's coming to take their job.
Yeah, of course.
So it's been a fascinating journey. That exploration started with ChatGPT. I now use a thing on my laptop every day called Sintra, where it's this little army of agents, if you like, that help me in different areas of the business. And sometimes it's just having someone to bounce an idea off. You've got a concept in your head, you chuck it through that, and it brings something back to you that takes you off in a direction of thought that allows you to clarify what you're thinking and the way you're doing it.
It's very much a tool, isn't it? You mentioned the word fear, and if I may, I remember seeing Elon Musk talk about Grok and AI in general being, problematic potentially. What are your thoughts for the future? Do you hold a fear, or do you have a positive expectation of it?
I've got a positive expectation, Rick, and that's a little bit about how I'm wired up as well. But I think there are a whole lot of challenges around it from a governance perspective, from an ownership perspective. productivity wise, how does it integrate? How do we integrate it effectively? How do we maintain a real focus on human value in business? Because at the end of the day, I think humans trust humans. So there's still going to be, all the way through business, there's still going to be that requirement and a want for people to deal with people. It might just be slightly different in the future. But it's an interesting time with the speed that it's moving at. And look, Rick, the other piece is the media plays a huge part in how we actually feel about it. And again, I've stopped watching the news in the morning because you watch the news, and I watch it in front of my children. It's like,
it's horrible.
There's no positivity there anymore.
No.
So what we're trying to do is make sure that we are, again, really specific on the businesses that we're working with that value human input and they want to maintain it while finding ways to be better in terms of integrating AI and what they integrate as well. The model now, the model now will be different than it will be even in 6 months' time, won't it? It's moving so fast. So
are leaders actually having these hard discussions? Are they sharing fears with you? How's it unrolling?
Yeah, they are. They are, Rick, and we've moved into this fast-paced change management in the last progressively over the last 12 months, recognizing that's what we were doing anyway. We were working businesses to transform teams, leadership and teams to move a little bit faster. So we've actually just recognized the opportunity to work on this off the back of AI. And I would say 100% of the meetings certainly that I've had in the last 2 months, whether we've walked in to talk about AI or not, it always comes to the fore, particularly with leadership. There's curiosity, but there's also, I would say, a lack of understanding as well. There's lots of businesses that are off spending money, trying things without thinking about how it aligns strategically with, their operations, but also the growth of the business or the sustainability of the business. So it's a really interesting place to be in and out of these meetings and capturing the information around, how do leaders feel about it, but then where's the alignment between the way leaders feel and then your front line as well? Where does that sit? And exploring that and trying to find ways to connect that and then get them to strategize around it and, keep people at the center of that. That's the challenge that we're working on just now. And it's been very rewarding so far.
Absolutely. Again, thanks for the feedback. Now, I often just perceive AI as purely a tool that could never replace people. But somewhere in the documentation I was reading, Neil, you talked about AI as a teammate, not as a takeover. Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah, and that's what we're starting to recognize. We've got a guy that works with us in the US. He's wonderful in this space, and he's feeding information to us almost daily at the moment around where it is and where it's going to. And this almost re-architecture of the workplace to integrate AI in an agentic way means that there will be collaborative teams between humans and AIs and AI. And what I mean by that is, we will look and are looking with businesses at their, let's say, their standard operating procedure or their process and system, and finding ways to create operational efficiency within existing workflow.
Yep.
And what does that look like from a programming perspective? If you look at things like Copilot or Gemini, they actually have the capability now that you can design agents within them, and then you can program them to pick up certain parts of your workflow and do parts of your workflow. So I believe the future looks like a collaboration between the two, but maintaining that humans will be a significant contribution from a leadership perspective. They will still, and this is back to the trust piece, Rick, I think the humans will still be client facing. The human will still need to lead humans who are working within a process that has agents or AI as part of that process. So there is a focus on what do the leadership skills look like when you have to deal with human and agents. Mm-hmm. So there is a model there that needs to be built and shared, and that becomes specific for the business for us as well. It becomes about the business and integrating with the business. So for our business, certainly, Rick, it will always be a bespoke model, if you like. We'll go in and analyze a business and look at what they actually need, not what the market's telling them they need. So we've got a front end diagnostic stage now where And it's a very human-centric diagnostic stage. So there is surveys and data, but it's driven by us as human beings because we value the relationship so much. So there's still interviews, there's connections in person, gathering information that qualifies what the data's telling us as well.
Yeah.
And that drive and will always drive certainly our business is that we want to make sure that people are the center of this entire thing. And
I love it.
if it means a reframing and a reskill in some areas to add value for the business, then that's
what it
is. And exactly.
I love this because this would help the people that work in your organization to frame it and put it where it belongs rather than letting fear overtake them, lack of knowledge overtaking them. And certainly that point, the customer facing thing that you mentioned, that is so critically important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I come back to the very essence of who we are as human beings. There's a trust component, and again, I'll use an example here. The tech-based sales environment. So you buy online.
Yep.
Even when there are no humans involved in that process, it is still constructed in a way that the interface is for humans, because businesses recognize that we want it to be simple, we want it to be efficient, we want them to be able to execute quickly, and fundamentally that comes back to, if they can do that, well, they'll trust us and they'll continue to come and buy from us even online. So those principles, they transfer directly into business to business. You got a business in Adelaide that they could be a professional service business. They have a group of clients that, whether it's a law firm or it's a consulting business or even down to manufacturing and sales teams, people are still going to want to deal with people. Part of the process, certainly part of the process in lots and lots
of areas,
areas and industries. So that's where we're going to focus on, trying to help businesses navigate that and maintain the people at the center of that, because we think it's fundamental to who we are as humans.
So Neil, tell me a little bit about the 24-hour leadership framework and how that applies to the transformation that businesses and your businesses are going through.
Yeah, that's right. And it's so we are always looking for ways to enhance performance but add value for our partners, Rick. And the 24-hour leader was born out of, we were working on leadership capability. We're working on team performance, how people come together and work together effectively. But then we started to recognize that there are external influencers on how people show up at work. And so we started to put the lens of what can we influence through that space. So we started to look at the human side of it, the more the human input side, if you like. So we packaged up and looked at how does your culture, your leadership, and your teamwork then impact the way your business functions, but also recognizing that the individuals can and should look at, how do I put myself in a place where I can turn up in the moments that matter in business and life, to be honest, in a place where I can represent myself at my best. And that's not all the time. We're complex as human beings, but what are the things we can do to influence on that? So we started to look at, we would look at the human energy system. So we start to naturally look at exercise, and we start to look at food and hydration, and then we start to explore in the emotional side of things and the mindset side of things. And we brought a team of experts together to sit and look at what that might look like as a layered approach to supporting business. So, you go through the leadership, you hit the teams, and then we go like, what does it look like if we start to think about helping individuals get the best out of themselves at the key moments? Then it was a natural progression. And look, a bit of I guess an analogy is, how does a person plug in to a team? How do they plug into a team that's being led by someone, and how is that a reflection of the culture? So if we can help people understand that, you look at energy systems, you look at leadership, culture, and teams, and you look at it through the lens of a human being, what do they need taught? What do they need educated on that allows them? Because, Rick, the thing with the human input part is, if you like, the foundational part is that education. Lots of people see lots of things out there that are saying it's great, you need to exercise is beneficial, and sleep's beneficial, hydration is absolutely foundational, human interaction is critical for energy, sleep and recovery is critical, And there's lots of things out there and accessible right now, but how do you make sense of it? So the
Mm-hmm.
24-hour leader is designed to make sense of it specifically for an individual who works within a business, and give them a chance of, having a more fulfilling life inside and outside of work. But then the business gets the performance impact, if you like,
Yeah, they
from
get the
the
benefit.
individuals. That's right.
Now, we touched on it just momentarily, the psychological impacts around
Mm-hmm.
AI rollouts. How does someone know? What are the signs that you look for that there is that element of safety there for the people that are exposed to it?
Yeah, I think the thing that when you touched on it earlier, is the thing that we're facing is a fear. And when you sit down, the organizations we work with and work closely with, Rick, we go through a really rigorous process of building trust with them, because fundamentally that's what it's all about. That us helping them get results comes back to whether they trust our ability. So we look at our credibility. Are we doing what we say we're going to do? We would look back at that connection piece. So once you've got those high levels of trust in an organization and people see that you're there to help, not to audit, but you're there to help, then they start to open up a little bit. And sometimes it's through anonymous survey to start with that gives you some data that tells you, right, we've got to go and dig a little bit deeper here and have some critical conversations. Once people see that you're trying to find ways to help and support, then they open up, and you start to get those signals and understanding. It's not just about the fear, it's what's causing the fear. How do we remove that barrier? And that can be different individual to individual. And it can be as simple as, I don't understand it, to, I've been told this is coming to take my job, so why would I ever engage with it?
Of course.
It can be as simple as that.
I remember my first time exposed to AI. I don't even remember what platform it was. There just seems to be a plethora of them.
Yeah.
And I remember being completely and utterly, absolutely overwhelmed. How do you do bite-sized chunks when you do a rollout? How do you eat the elephant, I guess is the question.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So we take some of the principles that we built from coaching directly into that space, and it's staged. It's what's right for the individual at that moment in time, and that's where the bespoke piece kicks in. So we actually have the ability to analyze and diagnose effectively where to start within an organization when it comes to the AI and the system, but also the people. So we're walking in with a whole load of data that tells us exactly what the challenge is. Therefore, we can start to speak specifically about that challenge and help them overcome that specifically as well. And that happens incrementally. If you think of the analogy of let's say you chuck a young kid, a footy, and you say, right, you've got 3 weeks to go and teach yourself how to kick a ball. That kid will go away and teach themselves how to kick a ball. But if you put a coach with a staged program beside them for 3 weeks, the quality of that kick at the end of the 3 weeks will be out of sight compared to if there wasn't a coach helping them build that incrementally. So it is incremental, it's staged, but it's very collective, but also individual. We try and meet the person where they are. And you may have a team of 10 people where there's 2 people are moving much faster. So your intensity focuses on the people who are maybe struggling a little bit with it, and it then just becomes nuanced and, like I say, very, very individual, but with a focus on moving the team towards, what does success look like for this team in terms of adoption and integration.
We talked about earlier AI being a tool. Now,
Yeah.
I fell into the trap almost myself, as I've seen others reporting that they rely 100% on AI. And it seems to me that it's always positive. It's always a great idea. This is fantastic. But can you really rely on it 100%?
Well, I'll tell you from my experience, Rick, is the answer to that is no. And I think the answer to that lies in how your co-pilots and Geminis and Cintras and ChatGPTs, how they underline that. And almost your first interaction is, it's your responsibility to check accuracy. And the first time you log into these systems, if you like, that's the caveat that they have, is it's your responsibility to check accuracy.
Yeah.
So for us, that points the compass back at the human.
Yes.
So, how do we educate ourselves on, yes, this is a tool that can benefit, and it may be picking up operational tasks. It may be helping thoughts and productivity and creativity, but we've got to be wired to the same as we would from a leadership perspective within our teams before. things go out the door, if you like, we make sure that we're aligned on the quality of what we're delivering. It's no different right now with AI. We have to double check and make sure that it's aligned.
I can only imagine what it's going to look like in a decade, but and it's quite comforting to know that at least now that the human element will always be an element in business. But when we're looking at the impact of introduction of AI throughout an organization, how do we verify it? We've talked about trusting it. Now we're talking about verifying the outputs. How do you go about that? I know that this is the human element again.
Yeah, that's it. And that's, again, I'll give you an example, a live example. We're working with a business here in Adelaide, and it's absolutely about, making sure that the systems and process are in place to capture before things exit the business. And all I mean by that is, it might be going to a client, and we need to capture, and again, that collaborative approach to humans and teams is, right, are we simple system to say, are we happy with the quality here? Have we checked the quality? Are we happy with the quality? And that human component, it's a quality assurance piece that becomes so important because, and we've seen examples in the media recently, high profile examples of when it leaves the building and it's not been checked, it can be very costly, not only financially, but you talk about reputation risk as well. Yeah. So businesses, it's back to framing what's important to you. If you're looking to serve your clients really, really well, and you're looking to integrate AI, what's our process for making sure that the quality is where it needs to be before it meets the client? Because that's where trust can erode really quickly.
I think about the operational perspectives of a business, and I consider, we need to train and continually train. And given the rate of change in AI, it must be an ongoing battle. So I think about induction. What does induction look like now? Sometimes they take 2 days, sometimes they take 2 hours, sometimes they take a month. How's it impacting stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's back to, and again, I'll share our model here. So when we're working with a business in this space, we look at day one, day two. So again, and I won't use any names here, but there's some businesses that, tech businesses that are selling the AI component of their business, and they sell an integration package as well. And that integration package normally sits through some kind of technology where a user logs in and learns how to use it. But what we've done is gone, if we're going to keep people at the center of this, even if we're not helping them design the agents that deliver the operational process, even if it's someone else's system, we would look to work with them on day two, because what you can get is you start to integrate those bite-sized chunks with the process of integration of AI. So you don't buy the AI, sit it in the business for a year, and then go, this isn't working, we need to train our people and educate our people. You actually go, right, we're buying the AI, how are we engaging the people in the process of learning this fast? So that's the day one, day two model that I talk about. Day one's AI. Day two, we step it and bring the people into that component and look, that there is the technical side of the AI, how to use it effectively. But then there's also removing the barrier, the psychological, the emotional, the knowledge and understanding that gives them confidence to believe that it can benefit them ultimately. Yeah, and that's what it's all about.
I'm loving this call. This category of the need for human beings still being involved in businesses. Putting to the side the fear, and through education and interaction, ongoing learning, and things like that. But in terms of the people that you work with, who is your ideal client?
Yeah, great question. So we work across sort of 4 areas right now, and we've just come out some strategy stuff for both here and the US, and we currently work in sort of 4 industry verticals. We work in manufacturing, construction. We do some work in professional services, and we do a huge amount with sales teams as well. That wasn't historically planned, but what we're actually recognizing now is we need to profile the businesses that we are potentially going to work with, and look at both the organizational appetite for change, and there'll be lots of business that will tell you that, yeah, we want to change, we just don't understand it, but it's not really part of their strategy right now. And then there's businesses who are wide open. They're going, we know we need to embrace this, we're just not sure how to do it. Can you help us? So across those sectors, that's a real focus for us. Look, at our expertise originally lies very much in leadership and team building. And when I say team building, it's performance building within teams. It's not games out in the park. It's more around right? What does a functional team look like? So then what does a high performance team look like? So we're just effectively looking at the needs of the market and going, right, this AI component is there. We're actually still looking for a perfect client inside our verticals. And lots of those are existing partners as well. We're also, Rick, we're not trying to build a business where we have, 500 clients globally, and we are sitting with a team of prospectors and cold callers. We work within networks where we have deep levels of trust, and we want to be working with partners for the long term, Rick. That's the other piece. So
Absolutely.
it's never a one and done. It's a long term relationship for us, and the first stage is helping them navigate that, and then we've got other ways to help them add value and productivity to their business that we then bring into the room.
It's one thing to be trusted, but it's another thing to be able to add that level of value that people expect as a service.
Right.
Now, I know that from one client to another that you would potentially need to, given what we've just talked about, Neil, to tailor programs. How do you go about that? Because you're dealing with healthcare versus construction. They're significantly different, but leadership is, I guess, very much the same, is it?
Yeah, well, it is, right? But what you get is you get different types of character that sit inside different industries as well. So if we think about, I'll use an engineering business that's construction based, where you've got engineers that are highly motivated by data and I guess the consumption of data that helps them make decisions, versus sales teams who still use data, but they move much faster because they're chasing deals. So what you've got is different types of character. We've got models that we use, Rick, that I would say, experience over time has taught us what works between these different industries. But the brilliant thing that we love most is the people are so different. So we have to find ways to use these effectively inside different types of teams. And ultimately that comes down to the people. So that's where we start. We have some tools that we use that are related to people, and they tell us some information about the people. And then that drives the way we frame things, because ultimately, again, we would hang our hat on our ability to help businesses move at speed. So it has to be tailored, it has to be specific, it has to land, they have to believe it can benefit them. And when you get that, then you can build momentum quite quickly.
Absolutely. So when you do an onboarding, what does it look like for the performance chain? And when you do start working with somebody over time, what's some of the measurements of performance that they're asking of you?
It's business to business, but what we are looking at is we would build a specific dashboard for that business in collaboration with the business, based on what the data has told us from the front end analysis. Quite often we'll get businesses that come and say, hey, listen, we need to work with leadership, we need to work with our teams. This is where we're trying to get to. This is where, and again, I have a challenge with engagement scores, but we'll use it as a benchmark to then start to dig into productivity. And ultimately what we want to do is we want to impact the top and bottom line numbers for our business, while making sure that we keep people at the center of what we do. So that's what we analyze front end.
Fantastic.
How can we best help productivity? How can we help your people come to work and want to work at a level that is beyond where they were yesterday?
Absolutely.
So that's fundamentally who we are.
I'm loving this call. I tell you what, there's going to be a few people on today's call, Neil, wanting to learn more. Now, you touched on different locations throughout the world that you operate. Would the contact process be the same? Do you go to a website, or do you have a number of different websites? Tell us a little bit about that.
No, if we go to the Performance Chain website, that's the start point. I am, off the advice of a marketing team that we've engaged with here, my presence on LinkedIn has increased, I would say, by about 400% recently. So that's a place to sort of capture who we are, and some of the stuff that we're sharing as well, Rick. Is look, we are a big believer in sharing, and that peripheral, or that flow on effect of sharing information. People start to see and hear and feel what we're all about and what we stand for, which is important.
Well, look, if you're on today's call, you've enjoyed what you've heard thus far, make sure you visit the Performance Chain. I'll be making sure that there is a link below this post. No matter where you see this wonderful call, you're bound to be able to just one click through to the Performance Chain and contact Neil and his wonderful team. With that being said, Neil, what a fantastic call. Thank you so very much for joining on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Rick. Great discussion, and yeah, great podcast.